Obviously, early doors, we've only had 5 Grand Prix and a sprint at this point, but just 12 points separate the top 3 drivers in the championship. Oscar Piastri, for the first time in his career, leads the way on 99 points. That's 10 points clear of Lando Norris and 12 points clear of Max Verstappen. And Oscar Piastri is now the bookmakers' favourite to win the Drivers' Championship. So starting with the question, Sam, is he the favourite?
I've worked out how to be a bookmaker. Not that kind of bookmaker. I meant more like a bookie. Whoever's already leading, you just make the favourites. That's how they've done it. They're not going to make Charles Leclerc a favourite, are they?
No. Fair point.
I've cracked it. Gambling 101.
I am betting at your shot, man. I'm gonna make a lot of money.
2 for a penny, mate. You come on in. Is Oscar Piastri the favourite? It's close. It's very close. It's, we're 5 races in. It's pretty darn early to start shouting about who might actually win a title or not. And whilst that McLaren is fast, it is also rather silly, and it can't seem to be consistently good when it should be. We've seen it not be dominant. The fact that we've had 5 Grand Prix, we've had 3 different winners. They've not had a full lockout more than once of that front row. It's not been a consistent time for McLaren at the very front. Max Verstappen has tormented them. George Russell has been right there. Charles Leclerc has beaten one of them. It really hasn't all been plain sailing. So it's quite early to start saying that someone is a definite favourite for the championship. But I do believe that Oscar Piastri has the right mindset. We keep hearing Lando Norris go, I'm not in a championship fight yet. I'm not thinking about the championship yet, blah, 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 blah. Wrong. That is not how you think about these things. You're in it to win it, mate. You got to play the game. You got to play the long game. You got to earn the points, be consistent. And Oscar Piastri is doing just that. I said it after Jeddah that there had been a 33-point swing between race 1 and race 5 for Piastri to Norris, where he had 2 points after Australia and Lando had 25, and now he's 10 points clear of him after Jeddah. That is the mindset, that is the motivation, and that is the method of a possible champion on how to claw that gap back. He's done a brilliant job. We're going to this mini 2-week gap. He's going to be super motivated, feeling really overjoyed with the performances that he's put in. And the worst part for Lando Norris is it's not just Norris versus Piastri. Bloody 4-time champ Max Verstappen, who's quite good at the Formula One, also exists and is there. So while I think Piastri probably just has the edge, due to the fact that he is the currently perfect combination of driver on form, great mentality, car works very, very well. Lando Norris could have a resurgence quite easily, and Max Verstappen is, as I just mentioned, Max Verstappen. So yeah, it's not all plain sailing as your favourite, have fun.
If I had to put you on the spot right now, who do you think is the favourite? There's definitely a case for it. Do you think it is Piastri?
I would still go nose ahead, Piastri.
Harry, is he the favourite?
I am going to go with yes. There's something about Oscar Piastri and his mentality, which we've seen already in previous years. But, now that he is in a car that is capable of winning all the time, it's something about that. He's so calm. Nothing phases that man. That I just think he's got the right mindset, and obviously all the other qualities that go alongside with it to be a world champion. But I think that mindset is really serving him well, and especially when, he's got Lando Norris, who is certainly having an up and down time at the moment. And Verstappen, who, I think the Red Bull's in the mix when they get it tuned in, but it's still a difficult job for him. And as we saw on, in Saudi Arabia, not that he lost his temper, but it was a slightly rash move into turn 1 from Verstappen, and that cost him. So, I honestly think unless Mercedes and Ferrari suddenly turn it around and find that a little bit more extra pace, I'd say Piastri is the favourite, because I think he can, if he has the car, that same car underneath him for the rest of the year, I think it's going to be difficult to stop him. And that's not to say he's going to go off now and win every single race for the remainder of the season. I don't think that's the case at all. But even in the races where he's not winning, I think he'll still pick up valuable points and be consistent. So honestly, right now, going by his current form, I'd go with yes, because I just think the momentum is behind Piastri in a way that it hasn't been behind anyone else so far this year, because you obviously had Norris after round one, who won the race in Australia, didn't translate into the next one. Verstappen, who won the race in Japan, which was obviously brilliant, but it didn't translate into the next race, whereas Piastri is picking up these wins and the momentum's going with him. So I'm going to go with yes.
100%, there is definitely a case to say that Piastri is the favourite right now, based on what we've seen over the first 5 races of this season. And at this point, I think Piastri is just doing all of this to defy all of my expectations that I seem to put on him every season, because I say he'll be this level. And then every single year he's like, no, I'll be better than that, actually, and making me look like a fool, which I can respect a lot. But I identified 2 reasons as to why I was hesitant to make him a favourite for the championship before the season, and 2 things he needed to improve on. And he has improved on both of them. Firstly, I said he can't be anti-Tsunoda, which, to give a bit more context as to what that means, Yuki Tsunoda, we regularly make jokes, can only do the start and the end of the season. And what we saw from Piastri last year was he was pretty good at the middle part of the season, but didn't start particularly well, even versus Lando Norris when the McLaren wasn't at its best. And he didn't end the season particularly well either. Well, he's kind of dispelled that with these first 5 races, because after 5 races last year, he was on 38 points and Lando Norris was on 58. And Lando Norris had beaten Oscar Piastri in 5 of the 6 sessions that they'd raced in. This year, he's obviously 10 points ahead as Piastri, and he's beaten Lando Norris in 4 out of the 6 competitive sessions that we've had so far. So that box can be well and truly ticked. The other one that I was a bit hesitant on was his qualifying form, because last year he was out-qualified by Oscar Piastri 21-3. After 5 races, he's already on 3. Like, he is far and above what he was last year.
Great start.
Yeah. So he's got the same number of out-qualifyings of Lando Norris as he did all of 2024. He's put 1 foot wrong in 5 races. And I mean, yes, he's got a great car, but he is, other than that one error in Australia, he's put 1 foot wrong all season. And that bodes well for the rest of the year. Would I put him as favourite? I'd still lean Max Verstappen.
You're a fool.
He's 12 points back. He is 12 points back in a time where that car is not on the level of McLaren. And if you're asking me now, is there a chance that the gap widens or narrows between McLaren or Red Bull? I think it's more likely to narrow than it is widen. I'm not... Who knows what happens for the rest of this season? We don't know what the technical directive is going to be in Spain, how that's going to shake up the order. But even if the competitiveness of both cars remains about the same, based on these 5 races, Verstappen's going to be there or thereabouts. So I'm still hesitant to go away from him just yet.
I think what's crazy about Verstappen is when you look at his season so far, the only negative he's had is Bahrain, where he finished 6th. Was it 6th? I think it was.
Yeah, 6th.
Yes. And the car was so horrendous, so out of tune, that if he were to finish even in his normal position of the podium, he would be 5 points away from Oscar Piastri? That is quite scary.
Yeah, he's just finding a way to still be competitive, which is why I will leave it a few races yet until I fully move away from my Verstappen Drivers' Championship prediction. Looking at all 3 drivers, Sam, in this championship fight as it is at the moment, how will each be feeling before we go to Miami?
I think Piastri, we've already spoken about how strong mentally he is, but I think he'll use this just to continue that. I'm sure Mark Webber and Zach Brown will be very much kind of like, more of the same, keeping his spirits high. You're doing a great job. And if it is more of the same, if he repeats these results in the next 5 races, he'll be 20 points clear. And if he does it again in the other 5 races, 30 points clear. It's good, this, isn't it? This is good maths. Really solid. So it's the formula is working. This is the formula. And he needs to keep applying it, and he will keep being successful. So more of the same from Piastri. Max and Lando will be in a very different world, I think. The difference between them is Max Verstappen has got experience in these situations to fall back on. He has had to go into championship fights where he's not been leading. He has had to be in a car which he has won races in that isn't the most powerful or the most dominant car. He has been up against some of the greatest drivers in the world, i.e. Lewis Hamilton, and he's had to overcome that. Lando Norris has had half a title fight last year in the first time around, and he was up against Max Verstappen at the peak of his powers. It didn't quite work out. This is the first time ever that Lando Norris goes into a season with the favourite car, arguably was the favourite driver at the start of the season, and his results are first, second, third, fourth. They're tumbling the wrong way. So he will be feeling quite low. I'm sure that he'll be looking at trying to alter his mindset in this mini break and come back in Miami feeling much more confident, much more G'd up, and ready to take it to Max and Oscar.
I think when it comes to Piastri, I was going to say he'll be overjoyed, but I'm not sure that's an emotion he does. But he'll be as happy as Piastris can get. He has, as mentioned, made the biggest error out of the top three drivers so far this season, and yet he's still the one that's leading the championship. If you were to eliminate the worst result for each of the top three drivers, Piastri would be leading this championship by 18 points to Verstappen and 20 points to Lando Norris. So he is in a great spot. I think the next sort of 5 or 6 races are going to answer some more questions about Piastri's chances across this full year. Because if we look at the same 5 or 6 races last year, we had Miami, where of course Lando Norris won. Piastri had good pace, but didn't get a good finish there. Imola, Lando Norris is 1 second off victory. Piastri is 14 seconds back. Spain, Norris is second, 2 seconds off the win. Piastri is 7th. He's 33 seconds back. Canada, again, Norris is second, Piastri's 5th. And then Austria, Lando Norris was fighting for the win. Piastri inherited second place, but I think we all came out of that Grand Prix saying the same thing, which is Piastri should have been the one to really win that Grand Prix after the Verstappen and Norris crash happened. So if he can improve on his results year to year, just as he's done in the first 5 races, he's in a great spot, because after that, we get into some races that he was good at last year. We get into Monza and Baku, races where not only was he level with Norris, in some of these he was better than him. So he's got to be in a good spot if he gets through the next 5 or 6 races unscathed. Norris, he'll be frustrated, but same for Verstappen, really. They're both within 12 points of the championship lead. There are 19 races to go in this season and 5 sprints. There's a lot of points still to play for. None of them needs to be catastrophizing what's happening right now. Harry, your thoughts on where maybe Norris and Verstappen are as they head into this next set of races?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't think neither of them need to be catastrophizing. How can I say it? Panicking. Panicking, we'll go for. About their situation right now, because, yeah, like you said, there's so many points left on the board. And despite the fact that overall McLaren have had the quickest car, it has been by no means a dominant thing for them. Bahrain being the most dominant so far. It's still been super close in qualifying and even in races. I mean, look how far behind Verstappen was at the end of Saudi. So I think we're still in for a super, super close championship. Fans who want an exciting championship, don't also you panic yet that we've had 2 Piastri wins on the bounce. I think we've still got a long way to go here. And yeah, I think Norris and Verstappen will have the same attitude. Verstappen especially, he's been in this position before. You know, he's done this a few times now. Norris less so, but again, Norris just sometimes needs a little bit more self-belief, I think, and he'll just need, not that he should be panicking or putting pressure on himself, but I think he just needs a clean weekend, just to reset himself. And I think, yeah, like you said, this break now will be good for him, just to take a step away and reset somewhat and be ready for Miami. And Miami being a good place to come back and do this, given that he won his first ever race there just last year. So it's a nice place for him to come back to. This is a complete side note, but someone made this point on Twitter the other day that we're sort of witnessing like a proxy war of Mark Webber versus Sebastian Vettel again through Norris and Piastri, which I quite enjoyed. Obviously, Piastri's manager is Webber, and there's a few comments made by Lando Norris about how much him and Sebastian Vettel text, which I quite enjoyed.
What does that make Max Verstappen?
Your mum.
Oh, good one.
Sorry. So I guess
Add it to the Damon Go away zingers.
Yeah, I might retire. I can't get up. Son, my knees.
My kneecaps are gone.
I reckon David Go away is the best thing I've ever said. He retired after that.
Yeah, fair.